Inequality is often considered to be undesirable. Many politicians gain popularity by dispraising inequality in areas like income, job opportunities, education and healthcare. Inequality is generally interpreted as inequity, unfair, unjust. Consequently, promises are made and measures are taken to diminish inequality like progressive taxation, social redistribution, special benefits, itemized deductions, hiring quota, etc., all in the name of fighting the inherently evil concept of inequality and achieving social justice. Enforcing equality, however, is not without consequences. It has serious impact on other aspects of life and society that are strongly related to the nature of inequality. Inequality, or differently phrased diversity, is inseparable from authority, responsibility and liberty. These concepts form the legs of a stabilized table. Only if all legs are the same length, there is stability. If you shorten or lengthen one leg, other legs will have to be shortened or lengthened accordingly to avoid imbalance. The question is not necessarily how high the table should be, but through which mechanism stability is achieved. Let's look at the four basic concepts that interact through a stabilizing mechanism. Authority and ability, responsibility, liberty and sovereignty, inequality and diversity. A child cannot be fully responsible for its actions, thus there is less authority and freedom. Children are less sovereign and thus experience less inequality. A bright child and a less bright child share the same classroom, the same teaching and the same teacher. They sit next to each other and work and play together. They commonly follow the same program. Only when a child gets older, there is more responsibility and acknowledgement of its sovereignty and individuality. Consequently, there is more inequality or diversity. One child goes to college, another child does not. As they grow older, a disparity in almost all aspects of life like income, health and happiness increases. More freedom and authority automatically leads to more responsibility and disparity. Now let's take a look at typical imbalances that can occur in these fields. When there is more authority than responsibility, this can lead to indifference and negligence. For instance, politicians spending millions of taxpayer money on failed projects. Or soldiers with heavy guns raiding a village with unarmed citizens because they are ordered to. Or government workers who stall or deny services just because they can. When there is more liberty than responsibility, this can lead to anarchy. For instance, teenagers acting promiscuous and drinking too much alcohol leading to unintended pregnancies, abortions, poisoning and traffic accidents. Or people who demand the freedom to go wherever they want but do not wish to deal with the dangers that may come with that. When there is more responsibility than authority, this can lead to subjugation and oppression. For instance, when you ask a person to do something the person is incapable of or lacks the necessary means. When there is more inequality than authority and liberty, this can lead to tyranny. For instance, when unemployed people cannot start their own business or poor people cannot grow their own food. Imbalances are naturally corrected by the mechanism. People with little authority will try to avoid responsibility. People with competence will automatically be drawn to positions in which they can put this competence to use. People with less abilities and less sovereignty will strive for equality. People who act irresponsible may sooner or later lose their liberty through imprisonment. People who do not have authority over their children but are nevertheless responsible for paying child support will avoid marriage and even relations altogether. People who are accused of sexual assault because they complimented others on the way they look experience an imbalance between a huge responsibility on the one hand and lack of freedom on the other. These people will avoid interacting with other people. If you wish to create equality, you inherently invalidate responsibility, and one way or another you will have to evenly invalidate liberty and authority. You can only provide benefits to poor people if you obtain them from rich people. If rich people do not willingly share their wealth, their sovereignty must be infringed upon by using force. So liberty is sacrificed for less inequality. But when both inequality and liberty are evenly diminished, this will automatically have a diminishing effect on the legs of authority and responsibility. Rich people who realize that the fruits of their abilities and labor will be taken away from them, will stop being responsible for paying taxes. They will no longer apply their skills and abilities because there is no balance with freedom and diversity. Since inequality is a vital part of the social equation and all parts interact with relentless automatism, diminishing inequality will always and inevitably lead to less authority, less responsibility, and less freedom. If we fail to understand the power of diversity and inequality, we will never be able to live as strong, sovereign, and responsible human beings.